Have you ever looked in the mirror and wondered why, no matter how much you diet or exercise, that stubborn cottage cheese-like texture on your thighs and hips just refuses to go away? It is frustrating, confusing, and honestly, a little defeating. You do everything right, you eat well, you stay active, and yet nothing seems to change. What if the reason nothing is working is because everything you have been told about cellulite is actually wrong? Today, we are going to dig deep into the real science behind cellulite, cutting through the noise and the myths. And more importantly, we are going to talk about what you can actually do about it. Stick around, because some of what you are about to hear might completely change how you approach this problem forever. Before we get into solutions, let us set the stage. Cellulite is one of the most misunderstood conditions out there. Some people will tell you to just live with it, that nothing can be done. Others will sell you creams, wraps, and gadgets that promise miracles but deliver nothing. You have probably seen those advertisements claiming results in just 30 days or less. Most of them are built on hope, not science. The truth is somewhere in between all of that noise, and it is far more fascinating than most people ever realize. There is genuine, peer-reviewed science behind this condition, and once you truly understand what is happening beneath the surface of your skin, you will know exactly which steps are worth taking and which ones are simply a waste of your time and money. Here is something that immediately stands out when you study cellulite closely. It only appears in very specific areas of the body, the butt, thighs, and hips. It does not show up on your arms, your stomach, or your chest. That is not a coincidence. Think about that for a moment. If cellulite were simply about having excess body fat, it would appear everywhere fat is stored. But it does not. In those specific areas, there are twice as many alpha-2 receptors inside the fat cells compared to other parts of the body. These receptors essentially signal the body to store fat for later use, acting as a biological reserve, particularly for pregnancy and times of nutritional scarcity. Your body is literally designed to hold on to fat in these exact locations, and that design has real consequences for how cellulite forms and why it is so stubborn. Now here is where it gets really interesting. Cellulite consistently gets worse during pregnancy, during menopause, when taking birth control pills, and when using hormone replacement therapy. That pattern is a major clue pointing us towards something deeper. Under normal circumstances, just beneath the skin, there is a structured network of collagen bands, almost like a fishnet, that holds fat cells neatly in place. This keeps the skin surface smooth and even. But with cellulite, those collagen bands are partially or completely dissolved. And here is the thing. That is actually a newer discovery, one that fundamentally changes how we think about this condition entirely. It shifts the conversation away from fat and towards something far more structural and hormonal in nature. When that collagen fishnet breaks down, the fat cells beneath the skin lose their structure entirely. They become chaotic, pushing upward against the skin with nothing holding them in place. This creates that familiar dimpled, uneven appearance we all recognize. But here is what most people do not realize. On top of that structural collapse, the fat cells themselves become enlarged. The skin above them becomes thinner. Circulation in the area decreases significantly. Fluid retention increases. The lymphatic system begins to back up, unable to drain properly. And the muscles underneath gradually begin to atrophy from lack of adequate stimulation. Each of these problems feeds into the others, creating a cycle that gets harder to reverse over time. So cellulite is not just one problem. It is a combination of several things happening simultaneously beneath the surface. So what is actually causing the collagen to dissolve in the first place? Here is the key insight that most people miss. Cellulite is not primarily a fat problem. It is a collagen disorder caused by excess estrogen. Now you might be thinking, how does excess estrogen apply to someone going through menopause when estrogen levels are dropping? That is a completely fair question, and the answer changes everything. The answer lies in an enzyme called aromatase. Even when the ovaries slow down, Fat cells and skin cells continue producing estrogen by converting testosterone through this aromatase enzyme. And here is the critical part. This process often overcompensates, creating localized pockets of excess estrogen right in the tissue where cellulite forms. So the problem is not systemic estrogen levels. It is what is happening at the cellular level in those specific areas. When there is too much estrogen in the tissue, it destroys collagen fibers and elastin. And when aromatase activity is too high, it damages the fibroblasts, which are the very cells responsible for producing new collagen. So you end up with a situation where the existing collagen is being broken down, and the system that should be rebuilding it is also being compromised at the same time. Think about how significant that is. Both sides of the equation are being disrupted simultaneously. This explains why people can lose significant amounts of fat through dieting and still see absolutely no improvement in their cellulite. The fat may shrink, but the underlying structural damage remains completely untouched. Because again, this is a hormonal and structural problem, not simply a fat storage problem. Other hormones play a significant role in this process as well. Cortisol, which rises with chronic stress and poor sleep, directly contributes to muscle atrophy in the thighs, hips, and glutes, making the structural problem underneath the skin even worse. Growth hormone, which naturally declines as we age, is one of the most powerful fat-burning hormones in the entire body. And when its levels drop, fat cells in those already vulnerable areas become even harder to shrink. Insulin, when chronically elevated from poor diet or metabolic dysfunction, blocks fat burning entirely, essentially keeping those enlarged fat cells locked in place. Melatonin, often thought of only as a sleep hormone, is actually a powerful antioxidant that protects cells from oxidative damage. And DHEA, a precursor hormone that also declines with age, affects the balance of multiple hormones involved throughout this entire process. Now that you have a solid understanding of what cellulite actually is and why it forms, let us talk about what you can actually do about it. The first priority is addressing muscle atrophy in the affected areas. The glutes, thighs, and hips need to be stimulated consistently and progressively over time. Exercises like lunges, squats, and retro walking, which simply means walking backwards, are particularly effective for targeting these exact areas. Retro walking can even be done on a treadmill, starting at a very slow pace and gradually increasing your speed as you build confidence and strength. What makes it so valuable is that it activates specific muscle groups that forward walking simply does not reach. These are the very muscles that have been underworked and weakened beneath the areas where cellulite tends to develop. For those already in good physical condition, high-intensity interval training, specifically sprinting, is one of the most powerful tools available for fat burning and muscle activation. However, it must be approached with extreme caution. Even 10 seconds of true maximum effort sprinting can leave you unable to walk comfortably the next day if you are not properly prepared. This is not an exaggeration. The muscles in the glutes and thighs, particularly when they have experienced some degree of atrophy, are simply not ready for that level of demand right away. Start at 50% effort, keep sessions very short, and allow full recovery before repeating. The goal here is to stimulate growth hormone release and build muscle tone beneath the skin, not to push through pain and risk serious injury that sets your progress back entirely. The second major area to address is circulation. Cellulite is closely linked to reduced blood flow, lymphatic congestion, and free radical damage in the affected tissue. One of the best tools for this is rebounding, which simply means bouncing on a small trampoline. This gentle, rhythmic movement is excellent for stimulating both circulation and lymphatic drainage throughout the body. Red light therapy, using infrared wands or infrared saunas, has strong research backing for increasing melatonin production at the cellular level, which protects the mitochondria and supports skin health from the inside out. Dry brushing the skin creates a mild stress response that encourages circulation just beneath the surface, and regular massage in the affected areas helps move stagnant lymph fluid and improve overall blood flow. keeping the tissue healthier and more responsive over time. The third area is rebuilding the collagen itself, and this is where fasting becomes a genuinely powerful tool. When you fast, your body enters a state called autophagy, where it breaks down old, damaged proteins, including degraded collagen and fibrous tissue, and replaces them with new, healthy material. This is rejuvenating at a cellular level in a very real and measurable way. Intermittent fasting practiced consistently, along with periodic extended fasting, also stimulates growth hormone release, promotes fat burning through ketone production, and supports overall skin health from the inside out. Think of it as your body running a deep internal cleanup process that no cream or gadget can replicate. If you are not already incorporating fasting into your routine, this is one of the highest impact changes you can make for addressing cellulite at its structural root. Another highly targeted approach worth discussing is using a topical aromatase inhibitor cream applied directly to the skin each night. One well-researched option is a topical diindolylmethane cream, commonly known as DIM, which is derived from concentrated cruciferous vegetables like broccoli and cauliflower. The topical form is strongly preferred over pills because it works directly at the site where aromatase activity is causing the most damage. When you apply it locally, you are delivering the active compound precisely where it is needed most. By reducing aromatase activity in that specific tissue, you can stop the ongoing destruction of collagen-producing fibroblasts and begin creating the conditions necessary for actual tissue repair to occur. This is one of the more exciting findings from recent research, and it addresses the hormonal root cause directly at the source rather than systemically. Now let us talk about the mistakes that can slow your progress or stop it entirely. The most common one is going too hard too fast, especially when the muscles in these areas have been atrophied for a long time. Soreness is a signal that the stimulus worked, but working through existing soreness damages already stressed muscle tissue and delays recovery. On the other end, going too light and too infrequently means you never create enough stimulus to trigger real change. You need to find the sweet spot where you feel the work, recover fully, and then repeat. Sleep quality is also critical here. Poor sleep elevates cortisol and insulin, two hormones that directly undermine everything else you are doing. Think of sleep as the foundation that holds your entire recovery process together. Perhaps the biggest mistake of all is giving up too soon. The collagen network beneath your skin has likely been breaking down for years, possibly decades. Rebuilding it takes time. Real, visible improvement can take several months, and in some cases, up to a year or even longer. Think about that for a moment. You cannot undo years of structural damage in a few weeks. The change will be gradual enough that you might not notice it day to day, which is exactly why taking monthly progress photos is so important. When you compare where you started to where you are 3 or 6 months later, the difference becomes undeniable. Your eyes adjust to slow change, but the camera does not lie. Consistency over time is what produces results here, not intensity over a short burst. Stay the course. So to bring it all together, cellulite is a collagen disorder driven by hormonal imbalance, primarily excess estrogen and aromatase activity, compounded by poor circulation, muscle atrophy, and disrupted hormone levels, including cortisol, insulin, growth hormone, melatonin, and DHEA. The solution requires a multi-pronged approach, including targeted exercise, circulation support, fasting for autophagy, and topical aromatase inhibition. None of these pieces work in isolation. They all reinforce each other, and together they address the actual root causes rather than just the surface appearance. It takes patience, consistency, and a willingness to understand the problem at a deeper level than most people ever do. But the results are absolutely achievable for those who commit to the process and trust the science behind it. With that said, thanks for watching, and until next time.